Archaeologists are baffled by this structure. They don't know what was here or what the purpose of Puma Punku originally was.
High in the Andes, over 12,800 feet above sea level, Puma Punku's massive stone blocks lie scattered across a windswept plateau. These aren't ordinary ruins. Some surfaces are cut with a level of precision that rivals modern industrial manufacturing. How ancient builders achieved this without advanced tools remains a mystery. Now, cutting-edge 3D scans measuring down to 10,000ths of a millimeter reveal interior joints that shouldn't even be possible. The findings are forcing experts to reconsider everything. Was this the work of a forgotten civilization with lost skills, or something far more unexplained? The unsolvable puzzle of Puma Punku. At an altitude of 12,800 feet, on the edge of Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, lies Puma Punku, a place that has defied explanation for over a century. The site consists of enormous stone blocks scattered across a high plateau, carved with a level of precision that archaeologists still struggle to understand. These aren't ordinary stones. Some weigh over 100 tons, made from andesite and red sandstone, two of the hardest stones in the region. What puzzles experts most is that no one has ever managed to put the blocks back together to recreate the original structure, despite having the full set of surviving pieces. Every attempt to fit the blocks has ended in frustration. The blocks feature complex joints and grooves, with angles so precise and surfaces so flat that modern craftsmen would find the work difficult to replicate even with power tools. Yet, they were supposedly shaped by a society working with stone and copper tools, abrasive sand, and human labor alone. The official explanation has long been that the Tiwanaku civilization quarried and carved the stone slowly by hand, using simple implements to chip away until the blocks fit. But this explanation falters under scrutiny. For decades, experts have noted that the craftsmanship at Puma Punku exceeds what pre-Columbian technology should have allowed. Traditional carving should leave marks of laborious working, irregularities, or tool wear, yet these blocks show none of that. Their surfaces are astonishingly flat and smooth, their corners razor-sharp, and their grooves so consistent they look stamped rather than carved by hand. This type of precision is usually only achieved through industrial processes, raising questions nobody has fully answered. A European team added a structured light three-dimensional scanner system to the site, which enables them to measure surface irregularities with a precision of 10,000ths of a millimeter in December 2024. The unique precision of this system equipment was produced to such exact dimensions that it proved researchers' previous beliefs about stone block dimensions, which match modern aerospace standards, to be true. The evidence indicates that the Tiwanaku people possessed secret technological knowledge, or that an advanced civilization existed before them. The block puzzle becomes more complex because the various blocks do not create a complete sequence of interlocking pieces. Some pieces establish contact with each other, while others show size and shape differences, which indicate that different manufacturing methods were used to create them, or that the building process was stopped before completion. The site appears to show more elements that exist as separate parts than it does a complete building structure, which generates new research needs to investigate Puma Punku's actual function and historical development. What, or who created these precise blocks? The blocks originate from either Tiwanaku or an unknown ancient civilization that possessed advanced construction methods that reached modern perfection. The questions remain unsolved as archaeologists investigate a situation that appears to defy explanation. The answers to the mystery rest within those mute stones, which lie buried in the high Andes and await their uncovering. This puzzle requires a new approach, which requires researchers to reject previous beliefs while they study new technological advances and modern scholarly theories. The site of Puma Punku presents itself as a unique archaeological area because it contains elements that challenge research about historical human abilities and past events. But before delving into what this might mean, we need to understand the people historically credited with the site, the Tiwanaku. Who were the Tiwanaku? The Tiwanaku civilization emerged around the 3rd century AD in the high Andes, centered near Lake Titicaca, one of the highest navigable lakes in the world. At their height, between roughly 500 and 900 AD, the Tiwanaku controlled a vast territory that included parts of present-day Bolivia, Peru, Chile, and Argentina. This was no small tribal group, but an organized state-level society known for its advanced agriculture, architecture, and extensive trade networks. Their capital, also named Tiwanaku, may have housed between 20 and 40,000 people, which was significant for the time and place. They developed innovations such as terraced farming and raised fields, enabling crops to grow at elevations where farming would otherwise be impossible due to thin mountain air and challenging weather. Their ceramics and artistic styles spread widely across the central Andes, signaling considerable cultural influence. Despite these impressive achievements, the Tiwanaku are often overshadowed in discussions about Puma Punku because their known technological toolkit seems insufficient to explain the site's unparalleled precision. Their architecture near Puma Punku is impressive, but fits comfortably within what we expect of a Bronze Age society. Stone walls, temples, and terraces that reflect skilled but comprehensible construction methods. Puma Punku stands apart, almost alien in comparison. This raises the question, did the Tiwanaku actually build Puma Punku, or did they discover it already in place? The architectural differences between Puma Punku and the nearby Tiwanaku complex suggest two separate phases, or even two different builders. Puma Punku's stone blocks are cut with extraordinary accuracy seldom seen in the ancient world, while the rest of the site shows craftsmanship consistent with the equipment available at the time. The Tiwanaku people express their significance through their historic achievements, which define the limits of their time period. The society developed into a successful civilization that achieved remarkable things, yet needed to overcome a substantial difficulty when it moved from farming operations to creating complex stone structures. The construction of Puma Punku stands as proof that its builders needed to establish what they built before the site existed. This idea challenges established beliefs about archaeological research. The Tiwanaku society established its permanent legacy through major achievements, which included the creation of monumental stone sculptures like the Bennett monolith. The culture they developed left behind physical evidence. Yet, the evidence does not explain how they achieved their exceptional stonework at Puma Punku. The complete solution to this mystery requires researchers to examine everything about their environment. The Tiwanaku society gradually disappeared during the following centuries until the Inca Empire took control of their territory. The gradual process of dissolution that occurred at this site differs from the sudden shutdown that happens when a disaster forces work on Puma Punku to stop. The historical background of this event produces additional difficulties in establishing who created the site and the reasons for its incomplete construction and its broken sections. The comparison between established Tiwanaku structures and the mysterious blocks of Puma Punku leads us to study the primary materials used in construction and the potential methods employed for their production. What made Puma Punku's stonework so fundamentally different, and why does its precision push beyond the boundaries of Bronze Age technology? The challenge of andesite stone. Looking at the materials themselves helps explain why Puma Punku continues to baffle experts. The primary stone blocks at Puma Punku are andesite and red sandstone, both among the hardest types of rock found in the Andes. Andesite, in particular, rates 6 to 7 on the Mohs hardness scale, significantly tougher than copper tools, which measure only 3, and even steel files, which reach about 6.5. This hardness makes shaping andesite with simple hand tools extremely difficult. Conventional explanations propose that the Tiwanaku used diorite hammer stones to pound the andesite blocks into shape. Diorite is a hard stone of comparable toughness, and this technique has historical precedent, such as the granite quarries of Aswan in Egypt. There, workers used diorite pounding stones, producing clear evidence of rough, unfinished surfaces and irregular tool marks on unfinished obelisks. However, the Puma Punku blocks do not show these expected rough marks. Instead, their surfaces are polished flat and smooth, lacking the irregularities caused by percussion work. This suggests the Tiwanaku would have needed additional finishing techniques, grinding, polishing, and abrasive sanding, to achieve the quality observed. These practices existed elsewhere, but they required immense patience and labor investment, often reserved for the most sacred monuments. The level of precision found on hundreds of Puma Punku blocks is extraordinary. The distinctive H-shaped blocks, for example, show nearly identical grooves and complex geometry across multiple examples, resembling manufacturing standardization rather than individual handiwork. Hand finishing typically introduces subtle variations, but here, those differences are nearly invisible. Such consistency implies a system resembling early assembly line manufacturing or advanced templates, which is out of place, given the tools traditionally attributed to the Tiwanaku. The block's flatness and perfectly parallel grooves challenge the very idea that they were shaped primarily with stone or copper hand tools. Looking closer at the H-blocks and their intricate design highlights the scale of this mystery. Their internal joints and carvings interlock with exceptional precision, suggesting a construction method that modern engineers would recognize as industrial rather than artisanal. The harder we look, the less these blocks fit into the accepted story of Bronze Age craftsmanship. Material hardness alone does not explain the problem. It raises it. It highlights the gap between what ancient tools can achieve and the reality visible on these stones. This gap points towards something deeper, nudging us toward the revelations uncovered by the most recent 3D scanning technology. The astounding complexity of these stones leads directly to the revelations uncovered by the 3D scanning technology recently applied to Puma Punku's H-blocks. The H-blocks and their complex design. The most striking and perplexing artifacts at Puma Punku are the so-called H-blocks, named for their distinct shape resembling the letter H when viewed from above. Each block is carved from a single piece of stone, yet they display a maze of grooves, notches, and surfaces that interlock in an intricate design. This complexity suggests the blocks were meant to fit together without mortar, relying entirely on their precise geometry to create a stable structure. What's remarkable is how consistent the craftsmanship is across multiple examples of these H-blocks. These blocks reveal not just external craftsmanship, but an internal system of joinery that is difficult to reverse engineer even with modern technology. The grooves are uniformly cut, with walls parallel and floors flat, maintaining exact depths over their entire length. Corners meet at angles so close to right angles that the deviation is less than 1/10 of a degree. This level of standardization strongly suggests the use of templates or a manufacturing system, not something that would emerge from purely manual artisanal work. Despite these exacting features, the H-blocks do not all match each other perfectly. Some fit together, while others differ subtly in dimension or shape, almost as if they were produced in batches or series with varying specifications. Another possibility is that the original structure was never finished, or that key components are missing. This ambiguity adds to the mystery and complicates efforts to reconstruct the original layout or purpose of the blocks. The interlocking nature of the H-blocks implies engineering knowledge that would be impressive even by today's standards. They were designed to form a structure that could hold itself together without the use of mortar, relying solely on the precise fit of their shapes. This method, combined with the material hardness and surface finish, raises challenging questions about the techniques used to craft such perfect joints. Ancient sites known for stone construction, which provide their most powerful features through precise design methods and exact duplication, create a unique identity for Puma Punku, which differs from all other ancient sites. Hand-finishing stone typically leaves a slight variation. Individual craftsmen's touches are visible. At Puma Punku, workers executed their tasks through their work methods, but manufacturers achieved identical outcomes through their production methods. This suggests some method of quality control that today's industrial processes would recognize. an idea that pushes against conventional archaeological interpretations. Some researchers propose that this stonework may not have been completed or assembled as originally intended. The site displays a scattered arrangement, which shows unfinished construction because the blocks do not match each other. The construction timeline requires assessment because it shows evidence that different workers handled both carving and assembly tasks. The mystery stretches beyond craftsmanship into the purpose behind such a sophisticated system of blocks. The question remains whether they functioned as part of a temple structure, a platform design, or a mechanical system. Without a successful reconstruction, the intended function remains speculative. The Puma Punku mystery exists because designers created complex systems that function through their exact assembly. More questions exist about each H-block than the blocks can provide. The creators used their complete understanding of available technology to build unique designs that include complex internal structures and perfectly matched elements. The extraordinary precision seen in the H-blocks found a new lens of scrutiny when the latest three-dimensional scanning techniques were brought to Puma Punku, a moment that would elevate the mystery to a new level. The 2024 3D Scanning Revelations. In 2024, a European geoarchaeological team brought a new level of precision to Puma Punku by using structured light 3D scanning for the first time. This technology projects patterns of light onto a surface and measures how those patterns distort, capturing geometry with extreme accuracy, down to 1/10,000th of a millimeter. That level of precision rivals, and in some cases exceeds, the tolerance used in modern aerospace engineering. For a site long surrounded by speculation, this was a major step forward. The scans focused on Puma Punku's most iconic features, including the H-blocks and large platform stones. What they revealed confirmed what many had suspected but could never prove. The surfaces are not just visually smooth, they are engineered flat. Across spans of several feet, some stones showed deviations as small as 0.05 millimeters. That's the kind of flatness typically achieved today only through machine grinding or precision surface plates. Even more striking were the angles and joints. Internal corners measured within 0.1 degree of perfect 90-degree angles. Grooves carved into the blocks maintained consistent depths within fractions of a millimeter, with straight parallel walls and flat bases running their entire length. These are not rough approximations. They reflect repeatable, controlled precision, the kind machinists aim for when producing parts that must fit together seamlessly. This level of accuracy is difficult to reconcile with the tools traditionally associated with the Tiwanaku culture. Copper implements, stone hammerstones, and abrasive sand techniques generally leave uneven surfaces and visible inconsistencies. Yet, the Puma Punku stones show none of that. Instead, they resemble outcomes associated with advanced tooling, templates, and strict quality control processes. The research team itself remained cautious, presenting the data without jumping to conclusions. But the measurements speak for themselves. They are consistent, verifiable, and difficult to dismiss. This leaves two main possibilities. Either the Tiwanaku developed methods far more advanced than currently understood, or the site incorporates work from an earlier, unknown culture with different technological capabilities. Beyond the question of who built it, the findings raise deeper issues about how it was done. Puma Punku sits at nearly 13,000 feet above sea level, where oxygen levels are significantly lower. Performing heavy labor in such conditions is already difficult, let alone achieving this level of precision while shaping and transporting massive stone blocks across rugged terrain. The 3D scans haven't settled the debate. Instead, they've sharpened it. On one side are those who argue for refined traditional techniques pushed to their limits. On the other hand are those who see this as evidence of lost knowledge or overlooked chapters in human history. What's clear is this: Puma Punku is no longer just a mystery of appearance. It's a mystery backed by measurable, undeniable precision. As the edge of known history begins to blur, the search for answers leads us into a re-examination of timelines and technologies that could reshape how we view early civilizations in the Americas. Rethinking history and technology. The discoveries at Puma Punku are forcing a rethink of what we assume about ancient civilizations in the Americas. For years, the timeline suggested humans arrived around 15 to 20,000 years ago and only developed complex societies much later. But newer evidence is shifting that view. Sites like Monteverde in Chile point to human presence as early as 18,500 years ago, while footprints at White Sands in New Mexico date back over 21,000 years. That longer timeline means more time for skills and technologies to develop. The precision of Puma Punku construction work now appears more like an unexplained historical fact than an extraordinary achievement. Some researchers even suggest the site may contain layers of construction that were later constructed on the site through its advanced original phase. The radiocarbon dating indicates that Tiwanaku activity occurred between 300 and 900 AD. But it still allows for the existence of earlier foundations that stayed hidden below ground. The location adds another layer of difficulty. At nearly 13,000 feet above sea level, oxygen levels are significantly lower, which creates more challenging requirements for heavy labor. The process of moving large stone blocks through uneven terrain under those particular conditions creates major challenges to understanding how workers accomplished their tasks using basic equipment. The remaining stones demonstrate exceptional engineering skills because they survived through centuries of destruction and lost parts. The existing data, together with modern 3D scanning technology, provides evidence that ancient societies possessed greater capabilities than historians currently understand. Puma Punku doesn't just rewrite history, it expands what we believe humans were capable of. Puma Punku challenges what we think we know about ancient technology and human history. Its precision defies simple explanations and invites us to reconsider lost skills and forgotten civilizations. If you found this fascinating, like and subscribe for more deep dives like this, and don't miss the next video already waiting on your screen.